As many of my subs should know, I was at this year's Anime Expo. The JoJo panel that they had at AX had shown episode 1 of part 5 and it was English subbed. I'm sure that many had seen it due to leaks, but they were done in French subtitles since it was at France, so it wasn't the direct experience for all of you, but if you've read, then I'm pretty sure you knew what was going on anyways. I have a lot to talk about the experience of the JoJo panel and everything that's happened in it, but that's for later, so let's get down into the review. Before any specific things like pacing, I want to talk about the most obvious thing that was made different, that being the beginning scene to where it wasn't from the manga. So this could be taken as some just extra promotional stuff, which I've been seeing it being talked about, but I would rather think of it more as addition to the plot. While it isn't directly canon to the manga, it's not something to where it messes up anything in the plot. If anything, it adds on to it, especially since we had seen more of Leaky Eye Luca and how he gets the information to get Giorno and how his behavior is all and all that. There was also this scene where we see a guy pickpocket one of the two girls Giorno was talking to, and while Giorno pickpockets it back, he also takes a little fee for being one of the nicer people in the city and getting it back. We also see Giorno go to the ice cream or gelato shop, I'm not sure how it works in Italy, to pick up a chocolate pistachio cone, and it shows his love for chocolate, which we were able to see in chapter 4 of Sleeping Slaves. He gets 2 cones and you see him giving it to the kid that was starving near him. I'm getting into just description territory, so I'm actually going to just start pinpointing specific things from here on out. There was the first area of the introduction scene to where we had seen Giorno walking through the crime-infested streets. People were getting dropped, paid for protection, there was dealing, all of that. We see all of that and Giorno walking out of it to have this shining transition, and I'm sure you can see the symbolism to where it's just Giorno walking out of that life into a brighter future or something along those lines. After that, we have the narration from the narrator instead of Koichi, and for those that haven't read, Koichi originally narrated a large amount of the beginning, but now it's replaced by the narrator and Koichi flashbacking instead. So, to the last area of the new introduction, we have Leaky Eye Luca and him looking for those that aren't paying up. Seeing his shifting behavior before we had seen it with Giorno gives the idea of who he is and what Giorno is about to come across. Plus, I like that we had get to see more of Luca before the anime starts directly connecting to the manga, because we wouldn't see that much of him to begin with. I'll be talking about why and the pacing. It gives us this good idea of what Luca is about and what type of person he is and what he believes to be. Now, I'm going to be talking about the episode itself for what it is because I've already read and I've never done any form of review for any manga or episode, so it gives me a chance to talk about what I didn't before. Now, in this episode, I liked it for the same reason I like the volume and Araki's first other volumes. Araki knows how to begin when it comes to starting off a new series. Instead of having us wait to be introduced to a lot of things we needed to know already, it's condensed down into our introductory volumes, arcs, chapters, and now episodes. In this one episode, we see Giorno and Gold experience Italy, the environment of Italy, Koichi and his reasoning of being in Italy, Jotaro, Luca, and Bruno. And it's not just a constant barrage of people we need to know. The direction is all being done throughout Giorno's day, and this is just him experiencing this all, or experiencing this through other people. I also love that the whole stand users are drawn together. It just accounts for 3 of the interactions we had already seen. Last thing, this is about the sound effects not being used as much, meaning both the visual sound effects and actual sound effects, and they were instead replaced with music and atmosphere. And while that's fine and doable, it could have made a few scenes grittier than they were here, since that's how it went in the manga. Now, for the voice acting, I felt that this was as perfect as before. Now, while the actors have changed, the power and everything about their voices had stayed the same, or well, actually changed for the better when it comes to Bruno. Though I will say I will miss Sasuke Bruno, which was a thing in the games for a while, and if you didn't know, or you don't know what I mean, the voice of Bruno was the same as Sasuke's, which means you can have Sasuke saying JoJo's Bizarre Adventure or JoJo Kimi no Na Boken if you open up the game getting Bruno. But so far, I love all of the new voices, especially with the new Bruno, because he gets to this deeper tone in serious moments that we wouldn't see originally, since it didn't even look like he could get to that depth in his voice. Then when he's saying Giorno's full name, he's doing it with so much power in his voice, and it's all amazing. Also with the New Giorno, I'm still unmoved. It's completely amazing. I honestly might like it more than the original voice, but we'll just have to see. For the animation, I think it goes without saying that the anime progressively does better by each part, so it's expected that part 5 would now be the best animated part, but to see why and how is amazing. It's not the animation during the effects or the most dramatic moments, but when there's the most minimal stuff going on. These days, there are a lot of shows that have still animations unless it's the extremely important area of the episode like the climax, but with this first episode, you see characters keep on moving like how people would. The body language and the continuous moving keeps the viewer's eyes on the shows instead of looking away when there's still animation and exposition going on. Continuous moving in animation is what a lot of what we know is extremely popular. Bugs Bunny and a lot of early animations being huge examples because you would always see them on screen. They would have fluid movements, or even Ed, Edd n Eddy would just keep on moving even when they were sitting still. The only time I had seen someone not move was Giorno when he was being threatened by Luca, to where any sudden movements would have probably got him attacked, and when Giorno was sitting down with Bruno, and those are moments where he was supposed to be still and keeping composure. So in both of those areas, it made complete sense. But even with him being still, the rest of the world kept moving. Luca wouldn't keep still at all, and Bruno was moving all around Giorno. Like, you would see him here and there, getting up, sitting down, moving his hands, all of that. And I'm loving the flow and direction of this. I think it goes without saying, though, for the effects and everything that happened is just phenomenal. But yeah, there's that. Now for the music, I'm going to be one of the first people to buy the whole OST when it comes out on a CD. I know that I'm going to love this music off of the music being used between Giorno and Bruno. I had always wanted more choirs being used in the JoJo music because of how well it's done with the anime, and that one interaction had answered me. The music being used when Bruno was staring deeply into Giorno, you could feel the immense energy that Bruno was giving off, and just that interaction between the two and Giorno not even looking at him, that whole interaction was just made so powerful. Then there was Luca's introduction music when he was looking for his money, and you can hear all the strings gliding throughout the track, and it was being as sporadic as Luca's behavior was, and that works so well into this whole music theory aspect for this animation. Though to generalize how well it was all done, all of the tracks that were played in this had sounded like an Italian orchestra telling the story of episode 1, as if this was just a little piece on Vento Aureo. I already forgot how to say the actual word for it, damn it. How to say part 5's episode 1. But yeah, no, I didn't forget the actual name of it. I just don't want to mispronounce the Aureo. I don't want to mispronounce that. Now for the differences between manga and anime. So for all that had happened, it met eye to eye pretty easily, but I think the two things that I want to put the light on, or not make light of, but actually just put the focus on, is the sound effects not being used as much and the taste of a liar being a lot more different than the manga and what we expected. While the panels combined weren't as big and as important as holding Luca's eye, the panels here show how much focus is meant to go into it. Bruno calling Giorno was done with more power and tense atmosphere than the lick itself. Regardless of the matter, it was all done pretty well. The only thing was the sound effect inclusion, and it was all in the air if we're going to see more or less of it in the future, hopefully more, since that's like a huge thing in JoJo. Also, one enormous thing that was done was the change in facial gestures Giorno was doing. In the manga, we see Giorno's cold front as soon as possible, but it was also mixed in with his elegance and smugness with Koichi. That was all in the manga. Throughout this whole episode, you see a wide array of emotions Giorno carries with all these different situations, and his character is so fluid now, and it's like that in the manga too, but it's like not as eccentric. I'm not sure exactly the word for it, but you see him move a lot with his face. That's basically what I'm getting at. Obviously he's animated, but yeah. With the interaction between Luca and Giorno specifically though, you can see Giorno's words match even better with his face because the whole thing was about getting Luca not to hurt the frog that wasn't involved in the situation between both of them, and you could see him as being genuine as possible. And if you didn't read the manga, it could look like Giorno didn't know what was going to happen if Luca was to actually hit him, even though the frog was a product of Gold Experience, which means he was very much aware. I'm guessing that we're going to see Giorno's front develop as he goes on into the part instead of having it already as well as it is. So far, I'm actually liking the creative direction that they're going with this, and I can't wait for more. And that's the direction. Oh, it's amazing. Now for the pacing. This one episode had gone through 4 chapters of the manga. By doing this and dividing by how much manga we have nearly 39 episodes. But if they added more of those anime only scenes to the adaptation, then we could have potentially a lot more episodes than just 39. Instead of 39, probably be bumped up to like 45, maybe more, depending on how long those scenes would be. I'm not sure on how they're going to go about it for part 5 because David Productions has kept a pretty tight lip on it, but I guess we'll just have to go see. If it's all 4 chapters in an episode and it's all done as well as this, I'm sure that we're going to be totally fine. Final thoughts on this all. It was a all-around good introductory episode. I loved it all. Also stylistically, I'm loving Pink Giorno. I want to say that I'm surprised, but seeing the color changes in parts 1, 2, and 3, not surprised really. It also gives my Giorno and Gold Experience figures some canonicity since I've had these alternate colors for forever. And I don't know, I feel like I unknowingly called it because I've had these alternate colors and I'm just like, wow, I can't wait till I actually get the real colors that we're gonna have in the anime. And it's just like, well, I guess these are the real colors. And well, for the manga, they're black and white unless you're talking about the colored ones, which I don't know who exactly makes them, but you get the point. I unknowingly called it, but then in my other video, it's kind of going against that. But at the same time, in that same video, I said I'd be totally down for Pink Giorno. So yeah, you guys get the point. No ratings because I feel like people would just confused. They would just get confused at each episode for me rating them because they're just gonna be like, oh, if episode 1 is an 8, then how come this one is also an 8? They can't both be 8. Said that this one was better. It's just like I'm not dealing with this. So I'll be finishing it off here. Now, thank you guys all for watching. I have a lot. Oh man, I have a lot. I have a lot of videos to make off of my experiences at Anime Expo and what I learned about the whole JoJo, like the extra stuff going on, especially in the American scene, the whole Western scene. Be sure to keep an eye on the sub box. I also have my original ideas, which is a huge plate of stuff to begin with. I just gotta go clean that all up. Thank you guys so much for 50K. I'm sorry that it took so long for me to get back and just to make this video and all, but it legitimately means a lot for me. To me. Thank you guys so much for all of this and cheers to more. I can't wait for more of part 5. I'll see you all in the next one though. Just speed it all up. So thank you guys all for watching again. Thank you all for 50K again. Until then, peace out and Godspeed.